Welcome to Cricket on Air, a show that goes beyond cricket news and analysis and brings cricket closer to real life. Once again, we are the three stooges, Deepika, Himanshu and Shri, bringing you another exciting story from the world of cricket.
Stooges? I don't know about you, Shri, but I know my cricket well enough, and I don't like being called a stooge.
Yeah, right, Himanshu. Do you even know how many teams play Test cricket these days, Mr. ODI man?
I like that, Mr. ODI man. I guess that makes Shri Mr. Test. I know dinosaurs that are younger than you, Mr. Test.
What do you know, Deepika? You're someone who likes T20s. There's hardly any point talking to you about this.
Then don't talk to me. And just for the record, I like T20 and I'm extremely proud of it. And it's snob like you, Shri, and are stuck in the Stone Ages so badly, you can't even imagine or fathom how cool T20 is for the youth. What are you laughing at? You don't even like T20 and you really don't care about the test match. So what's the big deal here, Mr. Middleman?
Hey, watch it, Deepika. Friends, if you are wondering what's going on here, we are simply launching into our theme for today's show, Sledging. On the show today, we'll feature our cricket stress buster, Cracking Up, and the story of sledging, the art of intimidation in cricket.
And since we're going to do a story on sledging, let us do our cracking up round on sledging itself.
Let me put up a question for you guys and see if you had to sledge some of these players, what would be your response to them? Let's start with it. And guys, keep it clean, okay? Ricky Ponting.
As soon as Ricky Ponting comes into bat, I look at him straight in the eye, have a grin on my face and ask him, "Mate, I'm a bit confused. Help me out here, will ya? The abysmal form that you and Michael Clark are in nowadays. Are you coaching Michael Clark or is he coaching you? It's kind of hard to tell,
Ouch, Himanshu. Who is coaching you these days? You just sledged Clark along with Ponting.
I must say I enjoyed that one, Himanshu. It was really nice.
Thank you guys. Well, here's another one, and this one for Deepika. If you had to intimidate your favorite Punjab da Puttar Yuvraj Singh, what would you say?
I would say, "Oh mere yuvi puttar, enna makhan na khaya kar, खा के तेरा पेट वधी जा रहा है ते बॉल नू बैट कैसे पाएगा."
Right, I like that one. I can actually improvise on that, guys. खा के तेरा पेट वधी जा रहा है पर तेरी एवरेज कटी जा रही है.
I can see you guys are getting good at sledging.
Yeah, see? 2 minutes into the show and we are already becoming pros.
Alright guys, I have one too. How about intimidating a bowler? How would you sledge one?
Interesting. After the first ball that Shane Warne bowls to me, I would look at him straight into the eye and say, "Mate, why are you bowling these dibbly-dobblies like Steve Waugh?" After the second one, I'll look at him and say, "What? Even Mark Waugh spins the ball more than you, man."
Shri, you do realize that this will only work if you don't get out on the first ball, right?
Alright. Enough of you guys sledging me here. Let's move on to our next segment, the story of sledging in cricket, but on the other side of this break.
Welcome back, folks. You are listening to the story of sledging or intimidation on Cricket on Air. Friends, cricket has always been termed a gentleman's game. However, everybody on the field, including captains, players, bowlers, batsmen and fielders, have always tried to take that extra step to make sure that they get into the head of the other person.
Yeah, and some people call it sledging, some call it intimidation, some fancy people call it friendly banter.
Yeah, right, friendly banter.
The Australians call it mental disintegration. This topic may have gained some popularity in the recent times thanks to some awesome TV coverage with the cameras really zooming in onto the players and some amazing stump microphones which can pick up what the players are actually saying onto the field. But sledging has been in business for a long time.
What's most cool is that it can have a reverse impact. And I have an example for you. The West Indian batsman Viv Richards was notorious for punishing bowlers that dared to sledge him. So in one of the matches, a bowler attempted to sledge him after he had played and missed at several balls in a row. The bowler turned to Viv and said, "It's red, round and weighs about 5 ounces, in case you were wondering." Richards hammered the next delivery out of the ground into a nearby river. Turning to the bowler, he commented, "You know what it looks like. Now go and find it."
Guys, I have another one of such friendly banter instances, so to speak. W.G. Grace, one of the best batsmen of the 19th century, was clean bowled in one of the matches. The ball had just barely kissed the stump, and also just one bail had been knocked off. He quietly picked up that one bail and placed it back onto the stump and said to the umpire, "The wind's really strong today, umpire." The umpire replied back, "Yes, mind your hat on the way to the pavilion."
There was one more instance when W.G. Grace actually didn't go back to the pavilion. After being caught behind, he just told the bowler, "People have come here to watch me bat, not to watch you bowl." So he just continued to bat.
I wonder he would have told the umpire, "People have come here to watch me bat, not to see you umpire."
But this is really cool, right? I mean, an umpire sledging a player. I'm sure it doesn't happen very often. I have one more interesting anecdote here. Australia had a really big, hefty fast bowler called Merv Hughes.
I remember him very clearly.
Big moustaches.
Sounds like Santa Claus.
But he was much more angry than Santa Claus. Santa Claus is very friendly, right? Big Merv used to come in to bowl fast, and he had this really angry, arrogant look on his face, as if he was going to come in and thrash the batsman with the leather ball.
Or his moustache.
Or his moustache. And on one such instance, he was bowling to the Pakistan legend Javed Miandad. Miandad looked up to him and called him a big fat bus conductor.
Oh.
Now, Big Merv didn't do anything then. He quietly went back to his mark and went on to bowl again. The next delivery, he got Javed Miandad clean bowled and ran onto him and screamed, "Tickets please."
Just what a bus conductor would do. Hey everyone, welcome back. You're listening to the story of sledging on Cricket on Air. You know guys, I've heard many cricketers and commentators say that cricket is a mind game. And sledging fits into this definition perfectly, doesn't it? People react differently when someone comes up to them and says something nasty. Depending on the situation and the individual's nature, I believe, someone would lose their cool and do something really stupid. Others might simply ignore it and would be charged up and hit back through their performance.
Right.
I personally prefer the latter approach.
That's right, Deepika. And a couple of more things about sledging. The player who's actually sledging somebody has to have confidence in his abilities. Number one, to follow through his words with some action. And number two, he also has to know how to say it properly so that he actually gets under the other person's skin.
That's a good point, Himanshu. And, maybe that's the reason why Indians haven't really been very good at sledging over the years. Indians are always perceived as these people who are mild, mellow, people who kind of get along with things and get along with people around them.
Shri, I think you're stereotyping here. Let me give you an example of Harbhajan Singh. Case in point, the infamous Harbhajan Singh and Andrew Symonds episode. The story goes that in the second test match at Sydney, Symonds alleged that Harbhajan Singh called him a monkey, which according to him was a racist comment. All hell broke loose after this. There were hearings, lawyers, almost a diplomatic fallout between India and Australia. The allegation was never proved and the proposed 3-match ban on Harbhajan was lifted. But it did have implications. Even small comment like this can actually create a big scene.
Well, thankfully the issue was resolved eventually, though I'm sure the egos were not. Surely, sledging will continue to be a part of cricket since emotions run high on the field, especially because you're playing for your own country. Let's just hope it remains entertaining and does not get too ugly.
Right. There have been instances when the crowd has actually got into the sledging part and the crowd has got things to say. I mean, I guess we all remember the incident where Inzamam ul Haq almost bashed a person from the crowd
Canada, right?
in Canada.
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember that.
So, yeah, let's just hope it remains entertaining but not ugly. Welcome back, friends. You are listening to the story of sledging on Cricket on Air. There have been instances when the Indians have actually kept their cool during sledging situations, Himanshu, you remember the 1996 World Cup incident between Venkatesh Prasad and Amir Sohail, don't you?
Of course, Shri. Who can forget that incident? Amir Sohail, who was quite well set, had hit Prasad for a couple of boundaries. After he hit the second boundary, he went up to Prasad and pointed his bat as well as his finger towards the boundary as if to say to Prasad, "Dude, that's where you're going the next ball also. Take a nice look over there."
Prasad didn't react much. He quietly went back to his bowling lineup. In the next delivery itself, he decided to bowl his slow leg cutter to Amir Sohail. In the heat of the moment, Amir Sohail again went for an expansive shot, But this time he missed the ball completely and saw the ball crashing onto the stumps.
Oh yeah, and Prasad's reaction to that was an absolute beauty. I remember him charging down, he saw the stump being uprooted, and he started pointing towards the pavilion in like two or three quick indications to the pavilion, get out of here now.
Yoo-hoo! Kudos to Venkatesh Prasad for keeping his cool and coming up with the perfect answer. Welcome back, friends. You're listening to the story of sledging on Cricket on Air. Most of you probably remember the Oscar-nominated film Lagan of the Amir Khan fame. In that movie, one of the British bowlers found a way to intimidate a local player, Arjun.
I remember Amir Khan also, rather the character Bhuvan. He tried to pacify Arjun, and what he told him was that the British were simply trying to get him agitated.
That's right, but unfortunately, Arjun didn't see the tactic. He got angry. He wanted to teach a lesson to the British by smashing every ball for six. Obviously, you know what happened next. He got out cheaply.
Wow, I remember reading about this somewhere, that a lot of research had gone into the making of the film Lagan. And having one scene with sledging involved in it definitely proves the point.
The sledging is part of entertainment, cricket and business and life.
Yeah, sledging sells. The bigger the stage though, the easier it is to get players anxious. Guys, the World Cup is happening now. Are there any instances of sledging that have happened during the World Cups?
Oh yes, they have. And there have been many actually, Shri. And I remember of a particular one in the 2003 World Cup. It was in the match between Sri Lanka and South Africa. Kumar Sangakkara was the wicket keeper, and Sean Pollock came into bat when South Africa were in a little bit of problems. And as soon as Pollock came onto bat, this is what Sangakkara had to say.
God bless stump microphones, people. God bless the stump microphones. The best part about that though, Sangakkara has not even used a single word of profanity in that. I really admire that. It was a very clean psychological sledging. He's not only a great player, but also has a great personality. I love his interviews and his articles. There's some kind of a thought leader that I see when I read about him.
Oh yes, Sangakkara has been always great. I mean, this particular instance, I would call it astute sledging. He was playing mind games with the captain of the host country, and his comments were totally pointed at one thing: expectations on Pollock's mind, which I am sure were already playing on his mind before he sledged him.
And I guess it's always on each of the players' mind, but just pointing and bringing it to your awareness can actually create a little bit of stress.
Yeah, and there's something about somebody standing behind you when you are facing the bowler about to bowl a ball, and there's a continuous chatter from behind. Guys, some players even get charged up if opponents have a go at them. Who can forget Yuvraj Singh's mind-blowing 6 sixes in the T20 World Cup? Soon after, Flintoff exchanged a few nasty words with him. England had to pay a lot for those few words. And some players actually suit the sledging themselves because they know that, once they hear the response back from the opponents, they get all fired up and they give their best performance after that happens. Case in point, players like Steve Waugh, Kevin Peterson and Matthew Aiden used to do that.
There is one awesome picture of Steve Waugh looking right into the eye of Curtly Ambrose, as if to say that Ambrose, you can say whatever you want, but I'm not going to move from my position. I'll keep batting as good as I can.
Yeah, and I'm sure when he was looking at his eyes, he must be looking upwards because that dude was really tall.
I remember of another interesting incident which happened during World Cups. This was during the 1992 World Cup match between India and Pakistan. Javed Miandad was batting and he was about to face a ball from Sachin Tendulkar, I think. He suddenly stopped Tendulkar on his bowling run-up, quickly looked back at the wicketkeeper Kiran More and started having a heated discussion with him. Apparently More was continuously saying something and it was getting under the skin of Miandad. Soon afterwards, he set off after pushing a delivery to mid-off, turned back and was safely in the crease by the time the throw came. More still went ahead and took off the bails, and it was at that time that Miandad did 3 jumps as if to say to Kiran More, "Yeah son, try as hard as you can. I'm right here in the crease."
Yeah, More and Miandad. I remember Miandad. He was a feisty fellow in his days. He would not take anything lying back.
Absolutely. Remember his showdown with Dennis Lilly in one of those matches?
Yeah, nice one, Sri. That was awesome. I remember what happened. There was a test match.
It was a test match.
Yeah,
probably.
and in the test match, he was taking a run and Dennis Lilly just mildly kicked him and Miandad came after Lilly with his bat.
Yeah, the umpire had to intervene to make sure that no physical damage was done in that case.
Right. Welcome back Cricket on Air, guys. We are talking about the story of sledging in cricket. You know what? Intimidation wasn't always verbal. I think the infamous Bodyline series between England and Australia was a great example of pure physical intimidation.
Yes, Douglas Jardine, how can we forget him? I still remember I was very little and I would watch this Bodyline series that were being aired on television, and I would sit there and watch the people who were batting and the fear on their faces by a ball.
Yeah, I remember that too. While watching TV, I used to get the same emotions that perhaps were going on in the minds of the batsmen facing those bowlers. I definitely felt the fear and also felt some kind of pity also for them because there was no protective gear at that time.
People were willing to go to an extreme to win a match. You can imagine if a bowler comes charging at you and releases this new leather ball at your body at 150 Ks, heck, there is no time even to run. The tactic worked as England won the series as 4-1. And I remember the English captain's famous words at the start of the series. He said, "I've not travelled 6,000 miles to make friends. I'm here to win the Ashes."
So much for cricket being a gentleman's game. I see nothing gentle about Bodyline.
Well, there was a lot of bad blood between England and Australia at that point in time. In fact, laws had to be changed to make sure that the Bodyline tactics were never repeated. But that brings us to an interesting point. Sledging and intimidation gets an almost different color, especially when cricket matches are played like a war.
Yeah, and the color might look something like green and blue.
Exactly, when India and Pakistan play.
Right.
Or yellow and blue again.
Right, just the shade of blue varies, I guess.
And that kind of also proves how much pressure the players would be feeling when they go out to play a match. I mean, imagine when Tendulkar goes to bat against Shoaib Akhtar, he knows that the billion people are watching him and are expecting him to do well. And in spite of that, he does well.
Yeah, and let's
against
not forget,
all the sledging.
Yeah, and let's not forget also the pressure that must be there on Shoaib's shoulder.
Hello everyone, my name is Deepika and we are talking about the story of sledging here on Cricket on Air. Sledging makes for a very interesting tactic. It surely cannot replace hard work and playing at your best ability, and most of us agree. But yes, we have to really say that it's an interesting tactic.
I have another example from 1992. The series between India and Australia, Tendulkar was playing an awesome innings. All the Australians were going after him. Ravi Shastri, who was batting at the other end, said after the match that the Australian players actually helped them improve their vocabulary.
That's an interesting way of putting it, right? But Sachin Tendulkar was not at all bothered about this sledging. The reason why he wasn't really bothered, he was not able to understand the English that the Australians were saying to him.
So are you saying that he's not competent in comprehending English?
Maybe he is today, but in 1992 he wasn't. In fact, Ravi Shastri says that Tendulkar used to talk to him in Marathi because that was the language he was most fluent in.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, rightly said.
Absolutely.
That is true. Well, talking of Sachin, I remember there was also this incident in Pakistan when on his first tour of Pakistan, Sachin, who was just 16-year-old then, he went into bat and the Pakistani players called him a doodh pita bachcha.
Wow.
Soon afterwards, this very called Doodh Pita Bachcha hit two huge sixes in the next over. And how awesome is that?
The best tactic against sledging is to let the bat do the talking.
You have to also remember the legendary spinner Abdul Qadir, who came to bowl and asked Sachin to try and hit him for a six. And then Sachin obliged Qadir. You know what happened? This is how the over read. 6-0, 4, 6, 6, 6. Yeah, that's 4 sixes and 1 4 in that over.
Yeah!
The legend was born. Welcome back, friends. My name is Deepika and you're listening to the story about sledging on Cricket on Air. After all these incidences, of course ICC had to get into action and take some strict rules against sledging. They couldn't take a backseat anymore. On the field, umpires have now the ability to warn players. Even after the match ends, match hearings can be held and players can be given bans and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's all for the good. All of this can help, but only to a certain extent. I mean, you have to give some consideration to the fact that cricket is a game of passion, and when you're playing for your country, passions really run high. So there is bound to be some overflow there.
You have a point, Shri. However, nothing changes the fact that the best form of responding to sledging is to play good, clean cricket.
Right.
And as they say, shut up and let the bat and the ball do the talking.
I think breakdowns lead to innovation. This is one of those breakdowns that created some new rules in the game which have really innovated the game over time. Also, I believe in life that's the case. In order to be successful in the long run, we can't have emotions run us and we have to take control. And it's only in actions that we can do the talking. And that's the reason why God gave us one mouth and 2 ears.
Cool, so that's the story of sledging for you friends. We hope you enjoyed it. We had an absolute blast bringing this show to you. Please go like our Facebook page on facebook.com/cricketonair. That's the place we'll be sharing some exciting photos, videos, and also actual shows that we air. Send us your feedback to feedback@cricketonair.com.
And we'll also put some of the YouTube videos for the ones that we shared, right, Shri?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Alright guys, we'll be back with another exciting episode of Cricket on Air. Same time, next week, right here on Cricket on Air.
So until next week, don't do any sledging, but do join us on the next episode. This is Himanshu, Shri and Deepika signing off.